Hello, thanks for watching. My name is Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, and I'm currently ranking and reviewing every single Frank Zappa album released after he passed away in December of '93. I've picked 55 of them, combining some, not quite doing all of them. But out of the 55 I am reviewing, the official discography, I am on number 30, MOFO. This was released in 2006. It is a 4-disc and a 2-disc set. I have the 4-disc set, and there are some tracks on the 2-disc set, not on the 4-disc set, which kind of that philosophy in general of merchandising kind of upsets me. But really, only 2 of them I'm really upset about. But it only amounts to 5 minutes of music. But however, I digress and I get ahead of what I'm talking about. So this release is the first of 5 that falls under the umbrella of the Project Object series. And each of those releases focuses on one album and gets like outtakes and alternate takes and basic tracks and overdubs and alternate mixes and interviews and all that stuff and packages it together. So this was the first one, MOFO, which despite its sort of offensive, somewhat aggressive name, just means making a freak out, officially called an FC audio documentary. The second one, there was no Absolutely Free, which kind of makes me sad because I think had there been, that could have been a really interesting collection of outtakes and stuff considering that album. Sadly, there was no Absolutely Free. So the second one was Lumpy Money, which looked at Lumpy Gravy and Only for the Money. The third one was Greasy Love Songs, which was a Reuben and the Jets. Then they jumped way ahead to Apostrophe, and then they went back for Meat Light, which was Uncle Meat. But then, not under the Project Object series, you got the Hot Rat Sessions, you got Mother's 1970, rumor has it there's going to be a 50th anniversary of 200 Motels coming out. So it looks like there is some chronological sense in which they're like progressing through Frank's eras and releasing materials, hopefully. But anyways, yeah, so this is a 4-disc set of stuff related around the making of Freak Out. And it really, I think, is only for 2 types of subsets of Frank fans. The really hardcore who want to hear everything Frank did, and those who also really like Freak Out. Because if you don't like Freak Out, there's really no reason to get either one of these discs. I'll be perfectly honest. The first disc of each is the original 1966 stereo mix of Freak Out, now available for the first time on CD. Before it had only been available if you happen to go out and have the original vinyl copy. So that is great. And that is one of the reasons why it's this high on the list at 30 and not further back towards 55. But the reason why it falls this far back is like 2 of the CDs essentially I don't listen to very much because they really are just basic tracks, alternate mixes, overdubs, and there's not that much diversity in them compared to the original Freak Out album. There are some real gems on this. Disc 3 in particular I think is the strongest. And even 1 and 2 have some, or 2 and 4 have some valuable tracks on it. But for the most part, it's that first disc that's the valuable, that original mix now being available on CD, and that third disc, which has the most interesting stuff. So I'm not going to go through each track because I think they're pretty self-explanatory. Like, I mean, for example, the first 3 tracks on disc 2 are, let me just read you. Hungry Freaks Daddy, vocal overdub, take 1. Anyway the Wind Blows, vocal overdub. Go Cry on Somebody Else's Shoulder, vocal overdub, take 2. So you essentially have almost every track on the album has some sort of alternate take or alternate mix representing on here. You even get a Trouble Every Day with basic tracks. You get a Help I'm a Rock FZ edit. You get everything is represented in a different way. You don't get at least on disc 2, it can't happen here though. But the highlight of disc 2, and one of them is one of the best things that's been released so far in this entire run that I'm definitely going to include on my greatest hits of the post stuff when it gets to the end, is the second to last track on disc 2 is something called Groupie Bang Bang. And it is a mother song. I think it's from the Frank. It's actually from the Freak Out recording sessions. It obviously did not make the album. Colin sings it for the most part, and it has a very Buddy Holly and the Crickets sort of a my peg feel, but it's groupie bang bang, groupie bang bang, groupie bang bang, and it's about a groupie bang bang. The boys all say she gives good. The guy singing it gets something that he doesn't want to get and has to see the doctor. It's a cautionary tale, but it is just 4 minutes of like Buddy Holly, 50s feel-good rock, but the lyrics are, she's my groupie bang bang, groupie bang bang, groupie bang bang. I mean, it is a fun, phenomenal track. It is only on the 4-disc release. It is not on the 2-disc release, sadly. And then after that, there's a short track, about a 2-minute track called Hold On To Your Small Tiny Horsies, which has a lot of like vocal cheese, Susie Cream Cheese stuff, and just like weird cartoonish noises. There's a reference to Kaiser Rolls, which kind of connects to the song Kaiser Rolls, which is only available on FC Oz, which was from the Winter 76 tour song that band did. So there's that neat. So the last 2 songs on the 2nd disc are really the things that really stand out, that are not just like, alternate takes or overdubs or stuff like that. Disc 3 has a lot more kind of jammy stuff on it. A lot of percussion on disc 3, the stuff that would go into Return of the Monster Magnet. Like tracks like 3, 4, 5, 6, all have percussion or drums writing the track, so you know what it is. It opens up with something called Objects, which is Frank leading the people who would make all the noises on Freak Out and Return of the Monster Magnet, leading them and practicing the like, whoa, and all those weird noises they make, and with hand gestures and stuff like that. Then one of the other great highlights of this entire set is a song called Freak Trim, in which it's pretty much, so when they recorded Return of the Son of the Monster Magnet, they rented a bunch of percussion equipment. They got this studio for X number of hours, and then at the end of the night, they had a late night jam session, and several of the tracks on here are from that late night jam session. This is one of those tracks. It really is just this guy, Kim Fowley, one of the Mother sort of hanger-outers, just freestyling. Everybody's jamming. There's a nice guitar playing. It has a very almost Can-esque feel, C-A-N, the German krautrock band. The German, it's interesting because I think Can's first album came out in 1968, and already we have evidence right here on this album of Frank recording large sessions of material and then editing it to compose, shorter songs, which is what Can was like praised for doing. And this has a very Can kind of feel to it, like almost like the Kim Fowley's vocals almost sound like Suzuki, and the band's just kind of jamming in the back, or even like Mooney. Either one, it's amazing. So that's great. Then you get a bunch of drum stuff. Then the other really cool jam thing on here is something called Veto Rocks the Floor. Apparently Veto can play the harmonica really well, and he is just playing, and it is another jam, has a very like fast-paced Help I'm a Rock feel to it, but it is also just amazing. And then the 3rd disc closes out with 5 songs from a Fillmore show in 1966 of the early Mothers. Just Motherly Love, You Didn't Try to Call Me, I'm Not Satisfied, Hungry Freaks, and a Go Cry on Somebody Else's Shoulder. Just really strong, awesome, just a nice little mini set to close out this disc. So disc 3 is really strong. Disc 4 is mostly interviews. Almost the entire thing is all interviews. Most of them contemporary to the time of Freak Out, but as the disc goes on, they go throughout time, but they all are referencing Freak Out, so they're all relevant to the material. But you also get like a single edit of Trouble Every Day. You get the Mother Mania version of It Can't Happen Here, which Mother Mania has since been re-released, so it's not as special as it was then. And then you also get several tracks of the 1987 Freak Out CD release, just for comparison's sake, I guess. You get Who Are the Brain Police, Anyway the Wind Blows, and Hungry Freaks Daddy, and a lot of interviews. And some of these interviews are pretty interesting. There's some on here that are not all that common or not all that well circulated, and Frank gets a lot more ornery and unpleasant and just kind of unnecessarily terse as the years go on, but he's a little more loquacious and talkative in the early ones, and it's kind of fun. So The 2 disc set, which if you like Freak Out but aren't that great of a fan, again, the first disc is the original mix, which I highly, highly recommend. It is by far the least egregious of the remixes. I think Money and the Rubin ones were much worse. This one I don't think hampered my enjoyment of the album, the 87 remix, as much as like it did for Money and Rubin. But I still think that original vinyl mix or that original stereo mix, there's a separation and sort of a breathing of the instruments that 87 mix doesn't have. But also, there are 7 tracks on the 2 disc that aren't on the 4 disc. 5 of them are pretty much alternate takes, other mixes of songs, not that different or not that necessary. And then the 2 that aren't that is there's an early demo of Trouble Coming Every Day called the Watts Riot demo. Really short, maybe like a minute of it. And then that goes into a sort of edited chunks of the Fillmore songs, 2 of them. I think it's You Didn't Try to Call Me and Go Cry. It's just like parts of those put together. And then you get 3 minutes of something called Freak Out Xylophone, which is another live jam, has a very Help I'm a Rock feel. At one point, Estrada just starts saying xylophone, xylophone, xylophone. It has like just that very repetitive, again, Con-esque Mothers feel that they would do when they would start to jam. And that's a pretty great listen. It is streaming because it is the 2 disc set that is streaming, so I got to hear it. It's not worth buying the 2 disc set just for that. But so if you're really, really into Frank and really, really into Freak Out, the 4 disc set is probably worthwhile. It's not that expensive, and it's pretty interesting and pretty like revelatory about how that album works and the development of it. If you're only mildly into it, the 2 disc set is pretty affordable and pretty good. If you really don't like Freak Out, you can probably just stick with the 87 version. It's not that much of a difference. But I do want to show the casing because when I opened it, it made me laugh and it made me smile. So beware, spelling is involved. So I hope that doesn't affect you. I hope I can do this backwards in the camera. So that's what the front looks like. The back, Susie Cream Cheese was going to do. But you open it right, you got that. And then you open that and you got that. And this is what made me smile. You open it and then you get that. So yeah. So that's how Frank decided, or the CFT decided to present this to all of you with that big word right there. But anyways, yeah, that's it. That's all I got to say about this. Number 30, Mofo, Making of Freak Out. Yeah, it's not mean, Mofo. But anyways, yeah, if you heard this or didn't, or let me know what you think about the album Freak Out, all that kind of stuff. You know how it goes. Take care, people. Be nice to each other. Peace.